All right. Welcome back, you game changers and people that are up to something or getting started on being up to something. Now, this is the Maturity Project. I'm your host, Chad Everett Broshears, or Chad Everett Broshears to some, if you know, you know. Although that one seems to be a little challenging to say at the moment as we get into today's conversation topic. And I got to tell you, what I've devoted my life to, and being the Maturity Project, it has not always been under that name, but I've devoted my life to doing what I can to make a change and make a difference for other people. Obviously make one along the way for myself. Very purpose-driven person. Look, we have this life to live. We can't confirm anything else. Now, what we do with this life is completely up to us. And some of the greatest challenges that we have is that people don't understand how capable they are to change their life. So we have systems in place to help us change our lives, like universities. We can go up to higher academia and we can develop ourselves into specific areas of expertise. At least theoretically, that's what we've all thought for so long. And we have continuously gone down this route to try to create the outcome that we want for ourselves and our children. And we continuously put this investment into the future by sending our kids off to university after they get done with the primary schooling system. And we've, as a nation, have kind of started shitting on the trades and things like that because they're like, oh yeah, that's okay, but you can do better if you go off to university and become this other level of a human being by being trained and developed into being better at those different jobs that the economy is in need of. So what we've had is the Great American Betrayal, and I've talked about this before. And the Great American Betrayal is sending your children off to university, and come Thanksgiving, Christmas, or whatever the holiday is, they return back to you. You've got an activist. You don't have a professional. Pisses me off to no end, because that is a betrayal to the parents and to the country, because these individuals are being sent off to become better at the economy, business, whatever it is, to fill in positions in the economy to better us all. Academically, to the theoretical people that work into physics and everything else, to move the sciences forward so that we can develop overall as well. We are caught up in such a mess right now. We just had an assassination attempt on a former president. That is insane that we've got to that point. And what's even more insane and infuriates me is that there are people cheering for it. There are people saying you need to do better at your aim. And even seeing people on the side that support this particular president saying that the left can't aim. Shut the fuck up. We're talking about the wrong thing here. We're talking about the destruction of our country because people are functioning in these areas of immaturity and they're being manipulated and used in this area of immaturity. We have our poor children going off to universities or their groups that are influenced by the universities, and they're getting radicalized into the destruction of the country that their family has been able to build a living in. If you want to do something about this, we can sit here and bitch and bitch and bitch until we're blue in the face that these things are just, you know what, they're if you want to sit around and just have a conversation of masturbation because you have no intention of doing something about it and you're just sitting there talking and talking and talking, and who has the better argument? I'm sorry, but I don't know that many real life philosophers. So if you want to sit around and talk about who has the better argument, that's what that's what philosophers do. They argue their points. We don't even have that. We have people that are parroting what they're being told by somebody else. Free thinking and critical thinking are in danger. And the reasons for that is because we don't even have a system to help us find fulfillment in life. We have a system that helps us find fulfillment in the economy that is betrayed right now. And you can figure out how to have fulfillment in your life by all these other ancillary options, by hiring coaches and or going alternative educations and things, which myself included in that alternative education direction. But if you want to make a bigger difference, you've got to start working on where the problem actually is. It's like the stock market. If you start talking about a stock when it's hot, you're too late. The people that got in before you will make a lot more money than you will. And the people that got in before you probably understand the algorithm. They know when to pull out, and you're going to stay in there, and your money is what actually gets them the money on their way out. Same concept with what we're going on. If we continue to sit here and complain and bitch and moan about the actual what is without coming up with a strategy to do something about it, we are fucked. I refuse to be in that conversation. I am coming to this with the let's create a solution, not a partisan direction. It's not a political solution. It is an all-in solution. And that all-in solution is you want people to be less malleable and manipulatable, then start working on the core tenets of who they are as a person. 8 different areas of maturity. If you address every one of those, that individual has a very high level of critical thinking and ability to be stoic enough so that they cannot react too much. They're conditioned in every place to find fulfillment in their life, which will escalate their abilities when it comes to the academics because they have a clearer head and they have more purpose for what they're doing. If you want that in this world, you have to do something about it. If you expect it to happen like a lottery-based chance, then yeah, okay, you're going to find some sort of fucking success, but it's not going to be controllable and recreatable. Yeah, teach people to do what you've done, but yet you don't know how to teach them how to actually polarize themselves and attach themselves to the outcome. If you want those kind of things, there are things you need to do in order to get there. First, we need to start working on the areas that everyone seems to neglect when they start going for expertise and some sort of specialist ideas. You know, they say, and that we would get regularly chastised over the whole idea that, you know, we've got, what is it? The jack of all trades is a master of none. That is an incomplete statement. It is a jack of all trades, is a master of none, but is a master of adaptation. It is not a master of none. It's a master of adaptation. They know how to adapt to circumstances and situations. They may not take it to the level of expertise, but I'll tell you right now, and the way the human beings survive, I want the master of adaptation with me, not the one that's an expert in an area that has no utility for the issues that we're dealing with. So if you want to sit around and make the world fit into a category that you've been overly conditioned into, you're going to have problems. It's rugged. It's structurally, it doesn't have an ability to be sound in every area. So the 8 areas that we can work on. If your physical body is neglected, what happens? Now you have a genetic position that you specifically have. You have a specific genetic position for certain illnesses, for longevity, how long your family lineage actually seems to last. Modern sciences are helping with this, but yet at the same time, you need to take care of that body. If you're unhappy with your body because you're overweight, or you feel like there's something that's not quite right or working, something's not right there, you will have that as a stress value into the bucket of life stress. It's distracting. Every time you try to fit into some clothing you want to wear, it's distracting. Every time you see somebody else who is in better shape, you're likely to be distracted. If you see people that are fit couples and they're having fun together, you're likely to be distracted. It is an area that if you're unhappy, you have to find someplace else in order to start making yourself happier, which means you're pushing yourself into a single category or some other categories other than that. And you cannot ever forget your body. You forget your body, you will pay the consequences. If you don't watch what you eat, how you treat your body, what you plan to do with it, and how you condition your body right now to deal with the environmental stimulus that you're going through, including activities that you want to be better at, then you'll run into some problems. So if you want to be a better mountain climber, you've got to condition for mountain climbing. Bodybuilders are not great mountain climbers, but if you're conditioning on a regular basis, as an example, is that you do bodybuilding, then you go to apply your body into some other area. Bodybuilders typically are horrible golf players. Why? Because their bodies aren't conditioned for golfing. It's conditioned for showing the aesthetics, the physical capacity of the human body to what it looks like. That's it. Now, you can cross-condition and add things to that, include bodybuilding plus, which is really common for the smarter people because they know how to create fulfillment in this. Now, that's an area. But if you're not addressing this, you're not in the weight you want to be, under or overweight, more commonly over, but yet underweight is still a thing out there. I have friends that are struggling with that too. Now, there's a lot of different things, but if you don't address the physical body, you will pay something on the other end. Right? When you invest in the stock market, you're looking for a dividend to pay back for the investment. Well, you know what happens when you neglect an area? You have to pay a dividend. And that is going to be something that you have as a resource you don't want to lose. So on the physical side, if you're not taking care of yourself, you are likely to not be as happy because, one, you're physically uncomfortable and you're just not in the position you could be in. You're not getting the endorphin releases, the whole chemical values of it, from the hormonal sides to everything that comes out of exercise. You're losing that. Now, if you don't know much about that, guess what? This maturity project is based for you. It's to help you start with some place that you can create a foundation and have it continuous, something that you can keep up with because you've aligned your fitness goals in the right direction versus just a direction. Running isn't best for everybody. Bodybuilding isn't best for everybody. How do you figure out what's best for you? Subscribe to the channel. I'll send you over. Send me an email at yourmaturityproject@gmail.com. YOUR maturityproject@gmail.com, and I'll send you over a document. You can follow along with that. You can use that as a starting point, and you can do something with it. Now, the only thing I ask is I'd like to know what you're up to so that I can potentially help, maybe make an episode about it or send you back some stuff to get together. Cheer you on, kind of help out as much as I can. 8 different areas of maturity, I'll send it over to you. All right. If you want the professional guide to dating, which is more in the community aspect of things, and then the sexuality, then yeah, I'm happy to send that to you. I've got a starter document for that as well. So, all right, physical, that's there. Hopefully you understand what I'm talking about. That's one of the 8 areas. If you want to use a chronological order, that's the first area. Okay. The second one, community. Where are you with the people you're tied into? By the way, they say that you are an accumulation of the 6 people you spend the most time around. Who are the 6 people you spend the most time around? What attributes do they have? And what do you want your own influence to be? How do you want to continuously be influenced in something that isn't necessarily like you reading a book or you going off to courses and training and developing and all of that? What about this area that we typically don't pay attention to? The people we are friends with. How do you qualify what the hell that even means? What is a friend to you? Now you put these people together, and are you just forced into these relationships because you just don't want to be lonely? Well, if that's the case, then you're going to have different influences developing you, and who you're going to become can turn into the very scattered human being that doesn't seem to be very potent, and more prone to drama and upset and things like that, because you're not aware that the people you spend this time with in your community of maturity, your maturity for community, you're not aware of it. You're just on autopilot. You're just dealing with whatever and just dealing with the people that you could at least have around you. I don't necessarily care for this person, but hey, they're there to drink with me. I don't necessarily, like this person so much in all areas, but we get along in this one. These people are the ones that are influencing us on how we're going to be in the future, not necessarily because they're telling you to be that. Your thinking process when you're with somebody else who's thinking and you're truly engaged will have an avenue of conditioning and conversations that will have an outcome, because you're not going to want to talk about things that aren't relevant. The more time you spend with somebody and speaking about things that are relevant will start to develop you in that pathway. So if you don't like to sit around and talk trash about other people, and that everyone else that you hang out with does like to, how long before you're tired of being starved for communication that you give in to talking trash about other people because the group doesn't seem to want to go somewhere else in the conversation? Eventually, you're not going to want to be an outcast. Either you leave the group or you leave your position and join theirs. And it's usually a very small bit at a time. Any changes that we make are commonly very small pieces at a time. That's community when it comes to the personal development of yourself. There's a lot more to it. That's a good place to start with this. So if you're hanging out with people that want to see the world burn because they have no purpose, which is incredibly common, and the world burning can be in a conversation about the drama of the issues other people are creating. If there's no solution orientation, you have no fire department to deal with that burn. You're sitting there with gas going, I guess we should throw this on the fire. Is that the relationship you want to have with yourself? You have to be the one to come to that conclusion. Your community maturity is something you have control over. Now, there's a lot more to it, the resources that your community brings to it, what resources you lend to it, all of those things. But if you're sitting around in a very unhappy state and you're surrounded by people that are unhappy, but it feels good because at least you have a way of being relatable with somebody, then great. Now you've got an opportunity to at least not feel like an outcast. But what are you going to become when that conversation stays consistent? You have no room for hope. And when somebody tries to bring hope into the conversation, they're afraid of the Pandora's box being a riddle that's solved, because at the bottom of Pandora's box is hope. And that's actually the whole thing. Chaos will occur before hope shows up. But hope is the most powerful thing. That's actually the story of Pandora's box. Hope gives you opportunity. Chaos takes away your opportunity because it sends you into a panic. Stick with it and hope will show up, and you will have something that you can control, plus the condition that comes out of it. But anyway, not to follow too far down Pandora's box and the mythology of it and its application in today's life, especially I teach Pandora's box from that perspective with this education, so that we've got something we can graph off that's in history that people have used for millennia and for centuries. Upon that, we've got opportunity that is there. So I teach through those types of methods to help give something that makes it workable. So community has more to it. You are a contribution to your community, even if you don't feel like it, because you're one of those people in the group, and the other people in those groups that I've mentioned, whoever the people are you keep around you, they are also influenced by you. It's not just you influenced by them. So if you're sitting there, you're a cause for chaos because you have no value, no purpose, nothing in life that really drives you. Yeah, you're going to be stuck in a world that just sucks. And then you're going to be envious of other people to jealous when you see that they're happy and you can't seem to find happiness. You can't seem to find fulfillment. It's actually not happiness we're after. We're after fulfillment. But you can't seem to find it. So there you go. You got what you got. Now, that's a symptom. If you don't want to live in that world anymore, subscribe to this channel. Find somebody that can break you free of it. They're all around you. People like me are out there in the world wanting to see a better world for all of us. We're not just self-centered and driven so we can buy a fucking Ferrari. Sure, one day maybe that'd be nice to have, but that's something that is not a goal of mine. My goal is to try to help you with your life, because my son's life, this country, we all have such an amazing opportunity. But what are we doing? We're squandering it away because we're sitting around talking about who's more right than the other person. That affects your community, affects every aspect of all of us. Be an agent for change that actually supports a greater outcome that people can harmoniously live within, not this destruction. You want to reorientate yourself? Let's start off. Let's go back to a reset point. We get our 8 areas of maturity. You find out exactly where you are. You start building and attributing to every one of those things, the same as if you had 8 different plants in your house. You didn't want any of them to die. So you have to figure out what each one of those need and start nourishing it. You need this. So do the people that rely on you because they call you friend, because they love you. You love them. The people that are closest to you need you. And if you're not developing yourself, what are you doing? You're living in a past sequence that only has conditioning and repetition that degrades over time, because few people have past conditioning that sets them up for the ideal success. The majority of us have past conditioning that become frustrating over time, that makes us more soured towards life because you've not done anything to nourish each area of yourself. You're just sitting there going, I became great at business. I don't know why people won't marry me and love me. I become incredibly good at accumulating money, but no one seems to give a damn when I'm not around. Or people only do what I want them to do, but I never really seem to connect well with other people. That's a horrible, chaotic life to live within, and you condition it into yourself because you neglect areas of your life. If you want it different, you got to do different. That's what this whole thing is about. So, yeah, it pisses me off to no end that somebody took an attempt to try to kill a previous president who is the front runner right now for the office. You know, he is likely going to win unless something happens. And God damn it, nothing better happen to that man, because we're in a world of fucking chaos if it does. And because we're not ready. We're not ready to do this on our own. We've been sent on a path to get away from what matters to us, because we're told that what you watch on television is what's important. What music you listen to and how that resonates with the fact you're not happy in life and other people are the cause of it. This is the crazy shit that we have that's pumped through television and radio and music. You can't get away from it. So how the hell do you fight this? How do you overcome it? You get back to what matters to each person. You start working on the areas that really make a difference to people. If you're satisfied with your physical body, like I am, I'm satisfied with what I've got so far. I look pretty damn good. I work out 6 days a week. It's on autopilot when it comes to working out. I go do it because it's life. That's my life. I do it because I have to do it. That is a commitment to my physical experience and my body so that I'm capable of dealing with things as things happen around me. The environment that I'm capable of navigating. I condition this because it's important to me. But I was at different places in my life when I was distracted in other things. That's why I can speak about this in a way that truly gets it. We're all distracted at times. But if you let everything that comes through that fucking TV, the radio, the apps that you're on, Google, everything that we turn to right now is trying to put information into your head to distract you from the things that actually bring satisfaction and fulfillment in your life. So we sit around and we figure out how to sit there and have a good argument with somebody versus taking that energy to change your life. So we got our community piece, okay? What about cognitive? What about our knowledge base, our intelligence? That's an area of maturity. What are you doing right now? Unfortunately, the majority of people that I interact with on a regular basis decided to stop learning when school stopped. They just get caught up with data influence that's coming in, telling them things like through the mainstream media and through their TV apps and their subscriptions and all of this stuff. I know what I'm looking for whenever I go onto those shows and watch these movies and things. And I can see how people are being polarized. It's not just entertainment anymore. It's not just escapism to just get away from the problems you have in your life, which, by the way, is its own thing to be indicator for you. If you're constantly looking for something to watch, you are not working on the things you need to work on in your life to find fulfillment, because that TV show, by the time you get to the end of it, may give you minor levels of influence of how to feel certain ways and do whatever. But ultimately, at the end of the day, that is a show that took time from your life that you can go to your deathbed and say, hey, at least I watched all of Friends before I died. Hey, I caught up with every single episode of The Walking Dead before I got sick. Your brain is hungry to learn. All of them are. Why do I say that? Because people talk about boredom. Boredom means your brain isn't learning. You don't feel like there's any progress. If you want change, you need to recognize you're asking for it. You just don't know how. Boredom is a symptom. You want change. Your brain needs information. Is boredom uncomfortable? It sucks. Why is it uncomfortable? Why does it suck? Have you ever thought for a second why boredom is something we all experience? Now, for me, the last time I was bored was in 2014. And I realized this right here. I realized it. And it changed me. I've not been bored, not even for 1 second since 2014, because I have chosen a different way of seeing things. I am constantly learning in every avenue, hence the Maturity Project and having 8 different areas of maturity. I'm not going to stop because I don't like boredom. Neither do you. What do you do with that? It's a symptom. Work with it. Figure out how to start making it into something, because boredom is actually frustration of an idle mind. You don't want it. So why don't you use that in a way to be an ally for your growth? You want to use allyship? Be your own ally. If you have no purpose and you can't seem to find purpose in your own growth, then allyship will go to somebody else who's demanding you work on their purpose. And they got to enroll you in it so that you'll go off and become this blue-haired activist or whatever the fuck these damn universities are doing to our children. Because they don't have some place to settle themselves and find purpose. I am not politically biased in any direction. I'm an independent by voting setup. So if you're like, oh, this is another one of those conservatives or patriarchy, shut the fuck up. Just shut up. Why are you taking that away from yourself? Putting up a righteous barrier to block somebody else who's just sharing life's experiences and hope to enroll you in just working on yourself. I'm not telling you what to do with your growth. I'm telling you I can help you understand where you can start attributing effort so that you can change your life. But I'm not telling you how to do this stuff directly. I'm telling you it's places that I can give insight on, and then you got to do it yourself. It's bringing you to a foundation for growth. That's what the Maturity Project's all about. It's not to tell you exactly how to run a business. It's not to tell you exactly how to run your finances. It's where you get the insights enough that you can be aware and you can make your own changes. You have to. It's not my life anyway. My life's right here. My life's doing my thing. And I'm not going to change that to do your life. But don't change your life to do mine either. Let those influences make a difference by those insights. That's up to you. That's it. So I'm not sitting here trying to be righteous about everything. May sound like it because I have conviction in my voice. If anything, I'm righteous for the opportunity for us all to grow without any kind of direction. I'm not trying to tell you need to be a specific political party. I'm not trying to tell you anything, but I am hoping to start working on taking apart the dogmatic programming that has made you so unfulfilled in life, where we got it all over the place. And the best way to do that, get to the core of the issues. Each one of these areas are so incredibly important to us as human beings. Every single area equally important. It's just there's times when the demand in your life is higher and makes it seem more important in other areas. But if you neglect the other ones and you go after that one or two, it will eventually haunt you and you will have the real life consequences of it. But the good thing is you can actually correct it by being aware there's other areas to attribute your satisfaction and fulfillment in life because you just developed those areas. There's a process to this. That's why I do what I do, is to help get that. First, I want to create the awareness. That's what these videos are for. So we just talked about intelligence. You can read books. You can do all kinds of things. This is intentional for yourself and how you learn, how you apply that the application of knowledge, and what the expectation of other people and what do you want that knowledge investment to do. That's all in the maturity of knowledge, of intelligence, and the cognitive maturity. Now you have emotions. I got to tell you, emotions are hard because we also have very little support when it comes to developing our emotions. We have very little help to get us to a mature level with our emotions. We have a whole lot of enabling, whole lot of it. We also have a whole lot of abandonment. Because most people don't know how to deal with emotions, and what they do is when somebody's emotionally excited and they're just really out there and they're not where you're familiar with them being, they don't seem as stable because they're gripped by some emotional spirit that's just really just changing them at that moment and sending them into whatever it is, typically it's survival, causes them to behave differently. Well, that's what survival is. And you can grow it, you can develop it, but if you aren't prepared to be part of a support system for other people to help them develop, do not enable them. Do not tell them everything's going to be okay, have them cry on your shoulder and have no other solution other than just that. Now, that's better than nothing. But at the same time, put the work in so you can start understanding how to guide people. Sit around all day long to talk about riding a bicycle. Pontificate over it all. Work on the merits of what bicycle riding is. Why would you do it in the first place? What happens when you get on the bike? What's the experience for the person? And let's just talk about it. But you never touch the bike to do anything. Sure, we can write books, volumes of books about the experience of bike riding. We can get physicists to come in and talk about the physics of riding a bike. We can talk about everything, about the benefits of riding from one point to another over the tenets of walking and how more beneficial it is for time and all of the rest of these things. We can sit around and talk about that all day long. But here's the problem. If you don't understand how to handle it and you've done nothing to be strategic about the application of that information, it will not work. Once you touch that bicycle and you try, you'll fail miserably. And the likelihood is that you'll fail so far away from what you thought you would do off of the confidence from all these conversations of preparation that you're likely going to sit there and go, yeah, I was not very good at that. Actually, I was so bad at it, I'm embarrassed. Probably won't do it again. I don't want to be embarrassed again like that. That's very common. But that's also what happens with emotions, because we don't know how to work with them. When somebody's going through heartache, unfortunately right now with our narcissistic drive that we have when it comes to social media, you're crying out for help, for something to just make you feel better. You go online and you post about it because that's your therapeutic outlet. You get a cathartic release because you type about how somebody else is a piece of shit or something. Or my relationship is struggling. Next thing you know, you got how many notifications pop up in your inbox? People going, it's okay, honey. It's okay, beautiful. It's okay, handsome. I'm right here. You know what? Tell me what's going on. Can I be your support system? And then they're sitting there with their checklist of their own needs, and they're working on figuring out how to validate that. and possibly see you as a solution to their challenges. And you're in a weakened state in your own relationship because you just vented about it. And then they're like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should meet up for some coffee or dinner or something. And it's so much easier to forget about the relationship values, efforts, the lessons you've gone through, and how you work together as a couple when it comes to, hey, it's just sit out and have coffee. Somebody gets me. I'm just so tired and exhausted. I'm fatigued. I'm so fatigued from that relationship. I just need a break for a second. And then that person's like, you know what? I get you. And you have that moment of weakness where it's like, hey, you get each other. You don't have a position of strength then, but you're hoping somebody else is filling that cup. And then next thing you know, you start feeling for that person. They feel for you, or you just say, fuck it, and I'm going to do something out of spite. Right now, our society, by our influence in social media, is it's easier to get over somebody by getting under somebody else. Yeah, how does that feel if you actually turn the table and think that about the person you're with right now? Does it feel good that if you're going through a challenge in a relationship, but you're fairly happy, that would be a solution that that person's presented with and they take it? So why would you do that to your partner? There's a mature way of dealing with these things, but you don't go out on social media and start advertising the weakness. It feels good. Sure, it's cathartic. Makes you feel like you're changing your life. All you're doing is you're enabling the emotional issues because you're actually putting it out there for somebody else to come along and just start shoving as much empathetic. Yeah, I'm empathetic. Really, they're more sympathetic, not empathetic. And there's an attempt to try to get closer to you. And I'm not telling you that these people are necessarily bad people. They're immature people rushing in there, trying to get an opportunity. Your relationship will die on social media. Yes, it will. Absolutely. If you vent it, that relationship is on its way. It's doomed. You have to be the one to interrupt it. Your partner can't. Your partner cannot do this. You have to be the one that understands it. That's an emotional maturity. We've got all kinds of ways to develop emotionally, but you gotta do it. And most of us just don't know it's an option. Again, that's what the Maturity Project's here for, is to help you understand there are options. There are ways. And I'm bringing people into this that know better than I do on how to do it, how to mature yourself in these areas. I created the structure. I'm out looking for the people to help facilitate outside of my abilities, which I'm actually very capable. I've been working on this my entire life. I'm very capable in a lot of ways, in a lot of places, and I can guide up to my level. But I don't want to work through the theoretical world with you if I haven't practiced and done it myself. That's why I'm bringing other people in to help with this. So when it comes to dating, who's a dating coach? How can I validate they actually have an avenue that can be beneficial? Bring them in, come up with criteria and curriculum with me that we can put this together and make it better for everybody. And when you're already subscribed to this and you're working on it to the level that I can bring you to, it's only going to accentuate your knowledge and actually accelerate who you are whenever those people come on board. So emotions, you absolutely can develop them. You have to be careful when people are enabling you, because why are they doing it in the first place? What satisfaction comes out of making you unable to do it on your own? People that know how to truly support you know how to get you to the point you don't need them. You just want them around. You don't need them. People that are conditioning you to need them, those people are putting you in a position because that's what they need from you. It's there. If you're emotionally mature, guess what? You are less susceptible to every area of maturity being taken advantage of, because at least they're not getting your emotion in it. Then they can just get you off the subject itself. And it might be beneficial. And you can learn from people that are out to manipulate you too. Absolutely can. But if you're not emotionally mature, they're going to get you. They're going to get you, and the less emotionally mature you are, the less likely you are to even realize they got you. So it's important. Foundational. Okay? Finance. This is one that I've suffered and struggled with, and it's because of the way that my parents raised me. Now, I'm not downing them. I'm not carrying a gripe or a grudge about them. I'm just aware of it. And I am actively on a regular basis working on this area because it's so foundational that it's a challenge. So whenever, like I remember the last bit of it, financial advice I got from somebody. It's funny. The last real impactful one. I had just bought my Challenger, my Dodge Challenger. It's an RT, so it's a V8, Hemi, all that fun stuff, right? And I'm working in a job that it's 7 days a week, just constant work. I was helping turn this gym over in Largo, Florida, to help them become more profitable and put the systems in place to make them profitable. And then I'm like, you know what? I even rationalized this myself. This a couple years ago, but I rationalized it myself, and I say to myself, I'm like, I've been working hard. I guess I could treat myself. So I made a commitment to the term of a loan to pay a specific amount to find that satisfaction in the vehicle right now. It's incredibly unpractical. It was a mistake on my part because I was in that moment and I'm like, well, you know what? I've worked hard for this. And foreseeably, I can see that my future continues this path because it's been this way for as long as it has. And financially, I'll be able to pull this off because you know what? I'm making more than what that car is actually going to cost me with my current lifestyle. So I made the commitments. Afterwards, they were reinforced. One of those is by the company owner. And he said, you know what? You really do need to treat yourself every once in a while. Good job. It's a great car. I'm like, hey, yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. That was not good advice for me. That was an empathetic connection to a degree because he's like, hey, I do it. But this guy's also a multimillionaire. There was no conversation, Chad, what happens if you actually leave? There was nothing like that. I didn't have that conversation really either. I qualified as best I could, but I was caught up by that shiny, beautiful object. Now, it's not like I have a history of making horrible decisions, but I haven't always made the best ones, and I've learned from them. And that's part of this whole thing. So finance is an area of maturity. What commitments do you make? It's not just the investments that you make to the money that you plan to get back in return for what you've actually given out. It's not in what kind of salaries you can command, what kind of money you earn. There's a lot more to financial maturity. It also goes down to have a clear mind when you make a commitment like that. You have the emotional stability and maturity to actually sit there and be like, okay, I've made a very logical commitment to this. I made a very emotional reaction because I want to feel good about the fact I've been busting my ass and killing myself for this. Let me get this thing now. There's a lot when it comes to the emotional or to the financial maturity, but it's there. And if you're financially immature, every area of yourself will be challenged because you have to adjust to that lack of maturity. So that's on the emotional side of things. Financial side of things. That's the financial maturity aspects. Now, business is another area. Do you run your own or do you work for somebody? Are you on a career path or are you on a paycheck drive? No, I just need to make sure my bills are paid. I don't really care much else. Or I'd rather work, you know what, the big popular one right now, find what you love and you'll make a living at it. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are in that mindset, which means the economy is drowned out on how many people can actually make money doing what they love. Because I got to tell you, when you find what you love, you got to work your ass off because you got to make that fit the economy. It has to have a demand in the economy. Otherwise, you are going to have significant suffrage and it will affect what you love because you're not mature enough in business to be successful at it. But you're mature enough to make the decision to get started. But then you get lost in the whole, like, I don't know how to do this, but I love it. So therefore I'm going to continue to do it. Not everybody has a base level they can really work from to make a difference there. All they have typically is they have just what they know and they're going into it. And they may not have the financial backing to help them get through all the hardships or the people there to emotionally help them support through those challenges. Because when it comes to running a business, that takes a lot of work. There's a whole lot that goes into running a business. A whole goddamn lot. I watch and I've consulted people in the personal training world and working in gyms. I gotta tell you, there's very few companies or occupations out there in the industry that has so many entrepreneurs. One of the most cliche things I heard from trainers is one day they're going to open their own gym. And then I just quickly talk to them about it. I'm like, okay, fantastic. It's a wonderful thing. What's your unique selling proposition? What exactly is it going to be that's going to set you out from other companies? Are you going to be generalized or are you going to be specialized? What do you know about marketing? How about negotiating your rent? Or are you going to buy land and build on it? What's your financial backing? Do you have 2+ years worth of money set aside to help you through the hardships of getting started to the point you can break even? Because it's going to take about that time before you break even, and that's with a solid structure and a plan. It's very uncommon you get it before that. Business maturity, that's starting them. And I have set a lot of trainers off on a career path, and getting them out of that paycheck mindset. Because a lot of them is just like, hey, I'm here to make money until I can afford to open my own place. And there's a lot of reasons why trainers get convicted to the idea that they're going to be great business owners. Because they get a bunch of clients, they're making more money than they need. They're starting to make little investments on some ancillary products that they're trying to sell. I'll sell supplements or personal training equipment or something along those lines, which is great. They're diversifying their profit opportunities, but they still don't have the negotiation of locations, the negotiation on their own pricing structure and what bulk buys do. But sometimes you get that, maybe not. But you don't have insurance coverage. What's your marketing plans? Do you have the actual utility covered? Like, what is your pro forma? Show me that you have taken everything from a business perspective and designed it to be successful in the next 2 to 3 years. By the way, businesses that are the most likely to fail, restaurants and gyms. The two most likely to fail businesses in the entire country. Fitness clubs or gyms and restaurants, the hardest to be successful. They are actually a separate measurement when it comes to the statistics of business success because they're so fucking hard to make work. They're hard to make work. They are incredibly challenging because most people get into it because there's so many people who get in there and think it's an easy business. That's actually one of the reasons why it's so damn hard. Because you got a bunch of people that can get in there with the energy, their heart, they don't know how to be business mature, and then they burn out. They cause all kinds of ripple issues because of the people they interact with that are their customers trying to make their fitness changes. The ones that like them and don't like them, across the board, they've impacted people, which make it harder on other businesses when they're trying to recruit those people because they've been there, done that, because of the immaturity of the other people that got involved. Either they're too strict with their policies and their contracts, or they're too loose, they don't run professionally. There's all kinds of issues that come out of that. Just because you can make a sandwich doesn't mean you can run a business. Just because you got grandma's soup recipe doesn't mean your restaurant's going to thrive. There are very few restaurants that do. There's a bunch of them out there, but when it comes to how many start and when they statistically fail, it is impressive to see the failure rate. And I don't mean that in a positive way. It's just a data-rich thing where you're like, Jesus Christ, is that really the outcome? That's incredible. And that's sad because that's how many hearts are dying. That's how many times have people been negatively impacted by taking a business venture. Then they realize they've run out of money. They've run out of problems. They've created so many problems. That's because they weren't mature enough when they started. They didn't have a maturity projection either. How do you get better at this in business? Well, guess what? I'm going to say it again. The Maturity Project's about that. You will take in consideration exactly what's going on in business. Whenever it comes to getting started, where you're currently at, what your projections are, things like that. How do you become mature in that? Well, you start figuring out from people that have done it. That's again what I'm doing by recruiting people to come in and speak on business specifically. Because it's part of it's very important. I don't care if you're independently wealthy. Where you go, by the way, I know plenty of people independently wealthy. They go off and they start their own businesses because they're bored. And they want to know that they matter in the economy. Just because you got a shit ton of money in your bank account doesn't mean anything. There's plenty of people, all kinds of money, and they're miserable. And they're caught up in this psychosis of what it's like to accumulate more and can't figure out why everything else in their life isn't working when that is. Do you want that? That is its own prison. Especially the higher up you get, the more critical everybody is about your decisions. And you're already miserable. And then you got everybody criticizing you about what you do. You're not ready for that, I promise you. Because that's a prison. And then you're like, well, screw everybody. You can say that all you want, but even the rock in the river forms to the river's demands. Eventually, you will not have that position. It will change you. So you don't want to be successful right now if you're not ready for it. And how do you figure that out? Using the Maturity Project to help get you to understand it. That's it. Get the insights to go, okay, I can put some work in here. Okay, now I know that I need to focus here to create a strategy to be successful without neglecting the other 7 areas. Business maturity is there. Now, sexuality, how many people are actually dealing with that? Sexuality is one of the areas too. It's typically the 7th one in the Maturity Project. Again, doesn't have to be chronological. It's just easier to teach it that way. So it's number 7, sexuality. Sexuality is not sex. Yeah, it's in there. Sure it is. But it's not. That is not the category. The category is sexuality. That is not just whether you have a preference in specific gender. That is not it either. That's an aspect of it, but that's not the entirety. You have so many things when it comes to sexuality. It's what clothes you wear, what styles you're into, What colognes and things like that, or perfumes, or the fragrances, how you want your, by the way, a fragrance is to by the way, it is, your sexuality is to complement your pheromones. That's also why sometimes people wear a really nice fragrance, but it just seems odd and doesn't quite seem to hit in the right way that you like. You're just like, wow, I like that smell, but for whatever reason, it's just not as good on you. You don't say that to people, but you've had that experience. I promise you have. You just may not have fully be aware of it, but you can't stop pheromone influence. There's other people you meet and you're like, Jesus Christ, I would just want to be around that person. I'm attracted to that person. And you have no way of really qualifying why. You're just like, oh, I'm attracted to that person. I don't know. No, pheromones play a role. That's the scent that we naturally make in our body. We have, there are things that help us release this, that help get people an understanding of awareness of who we are. Women, especially whenever they're in childbearing age and they're going through menstruation and they're going through their period, they're excited differently when pheromones are there. Also, women on birth control versus not birth control. There's a lot of things that actually influence the effect of pheromones on the body and on people. Actually, some great studies on that too, which is pretty interesting. Alpha men are not typically the ones that are expected or desired when it comes to birth control. But when women come off birth control, they typically look more for that. It's pretty interesting. But anyways, plenty of literature. Go look into it. But again, that's not just about reproduction, but sexuality does have a lot to do with reproduction. It just has to do with who you are as a person and how you accentuate yourself. Because if you're sitting there looking for a solid quality relationship that has a great degree of fulfillment and you like monogamy, well, then you need to look at your sexuality. Because if you're going out dressed in scandalous clothing and you're showing off things that are drawing people in for the sexual values that you have, well, your sexuality is still there, but it's going to be in direct conflict with your community attachment to having a healthy relationship. Because it's going to be harder to have a healthy relationship when the person you've drawn in is drawn in because of the way you look or a thing that you do or a way that you move. And you look at them and say, you know what? You've got a lot of these same wonderful qualities. I like the fact that you're muscular and you're lean or whatever your particular preference is. That's just more common. So from a woman to a man, they like an athletic build typically, but not guaranteed. But just using this as an example. And they're like, you know what? That's what I like. And then they go off and they play with what they like. And then they find out that's another relationship that just doesn't work. It's all of these hardships. There's just problems all the time. You're not fulfilled. You just feel pretty good. It feels good for them. If you have a relationship, like your average relationship timeline is 2 years or less, where's the problem? If it's 2 years or less and you're the one that's always in those relationships, where's the problem? Where's the challenge? Where is your position of power? Responsibility gives you power. Responsibility will change your life. But if you're sitting there going, hey, I always have these 2-year relationships, and you know what? I just have a type, and I can't seem to find the right one for that type. You're the one that's at the center of it all. Lowest common denominator, it's you. If that's you, this is the right place to be. Because sexuality is an area of maturity, but so are 7 other areas. And you can address all of those, and next thing you know, you're going to have a better outcome in relationships. There will be a critiquing period timeline. Relationships will be as they are. You can be in the relationship you're in right now. Let's say you're married. This can reinvent your marriage because it reinvents you and who you're with, and your partner can be enrolled in that person. Nothing excites somebody more in a healthy relationship than their partner being alive and so eager to live. That person brings so much fulfillment from a relationship position into life because they're alive. Now, if it's a healthy relationship, if your partner's not up to much and they're not willing to do what's necessary to actually find that fulfillment in their own life, yeah, then you're going to find the partner pushes back and has a lot of challenges with that. That doesn't mean leave the relationship. You can be the one to inspire them. Simple, right? So, sexuality is an area of maturity. It has to do with all of those things. If you're not addressing it and you're going out and you're finding people by the way you look, and that's your lead in, how much do you think you can actually get away from that? What kind of differences can you make? What kind of relationships will you make if that is the same thing time over time? You're just hoping for something like a lottery chance that somebody else shows up that has the development areas that you actually find that to be comforting, and desirable. Here's another little interesting piece of information. Anything you do for 6 months or more conditions your character. If you spend a lot of time with somebody and you're not really doing a whole lot to connect with them, and you're not doing a whole lot to connect with yourself, but you're just continuously in the same pattern of behavior, it changes you. You get into the relationship, you don't do a whole lot of fighting, you get 6 months or more of fighting, it's easier to fight. It's desirable, actually, in some ways, because you develop a skill set for dealing with somebody else in a fight. And then when things are good, it doesn't feel quite right because you're not fighting. Fighting could be validation. Hey, you're willing to put up with my shit to be in this relationship? You validated me, I feel good for a minute. I feel good until I feel like there needs to be another fight because I don't feel validated. It creates a pattern. That takes 6 months or more. Same conditioning. Doesn't mean just fighting. It could be a lot of things. If you have somebody that constantly beats down on your self-worth and you're willing to put up with that in exchange for that relationship, 6 months later, it's a pretty good chance that your own self-worth is going to be even lower than it was when you got started. Neuroplasticity, there's reasons for that, but it changes your character. 6 months or more changes your character. Simple as that. Okay. All right. Spirituality. For anybody that's sitting there going, oh shit, spirituality, religion, Jesus, knew this thing was tied into some sort of religion. No, it's not. Not at all. I don't care what your religion is. I don't. You could be any of the Abrahamic religions. You could be in Hindi or Hindu. You could be anything on this planet. I don't fucking care. I don't care. What I care about is spirituality is purpose. I use spirituality as the placekeeper on this, or the title or the category for it, for the simple reason that spirituality gives you access to purpose. Or purpose gives you access to spirituality. I don't care which way you look at it. It's the same damn coin. Flip it either which direction makes the most sense to you. I don't care. But one thing about this is it reduces righteousness. So if you're highly righteous in your religion and you constantly have challenges with dealing with people and you feel so unhappy and unsettled, I'm the guy to talk to. I will help you break free of that, because what I need to address is the righteousness of it. If you want to be a crusader in the process of being, whatever in life, especially when it comes to a spiritual position on a religious side, you'll find that you constantly turn people off. You'll recruit some, sure. People have the areas of weakness that particular level of knowledge and your ability to articulate it makes them more interested, and then they follow suit because of interest. What about if you didn't have to be so righteous and you can help other people reach it faster, more effectively, and with a greater degree of satisfaction when you catch them also sharing their spiritual position, their religious position with other people in a way that others are actually interested? Now, purpose is purpose. It's whatever you want it to be. Religion is commonly giving people access to purpose. That's also why spirituality is the title in the category here. Now, I've gone through my time of being atheist, and I will not be that again. I will not. I've realized that was a very ignorant position of my part. No matter how I smarted my way through it, and I was one person you did not want to debate with on the religious side, because I was vicious. Vicious and tactful. I wasn't over-aggressive as an asshole as much as it is I was attacking people's beliefs in a way that was affecting them. I was going after the position to try to free them of what I thought they needed to be freed from, so that they could have autonomy and self-assessment and critical thinking to have a more fulfilled life. And then all the shit that happened in 2020, and I saw these non-religious people being activated and put into a category of basic religious positioning by the way that they had adhered to an ideology and started destroying our country, and how they've been doing it. And I was a part of that without realizing it. Now, I wasn't a part of any activism or anything necessarily. My activism was in conversation. That won't be there again. You won't get me there. Ever. Oh, I am not atheist. Oh, I do have my own position on religion, but that's not for me to convolute this. I'm not out to make you part of mine at all. What I'm out for is just to give you more purpose in life. If you don't feel like you're driven every day by the time your feet hit the floor when you first wake up to do something meaningful in your life, this is an area you need to address. You need to find purpose, something that really gets you going. My purpose is to give everybody opportunity. without enabling them. Just insights enough to understand there's certain places of our existence that we can start working on, areas of maturity that you can develop that are common causes of people's suffrage because they don't connect these things or they don't attribute to the areas that they need to, and they get oversaturated in certain areas that give them identity. Balanced out. You know, once upon a time I called this scales. Just called it scales. When you would attribute to something over here, is the thing you didn't see over here that was directly connected to it in the maturity world, you would get real heavy on this side, and this side would just get out of balance. And you didn't realize it because your focus is over here on what you're really putting effort into. And this thing was what's annoying you. And you didn't know it. You just knew that, damn it, I got to push through no matter what. And the scales were out of balance. That's why I called it scales. And then it turned into this, the Maturity Project. It's easier to teach it this way. So, purpose. My purpose is to do this, is to give insights and to help people have a more fulfilled life. Tony Robbins has his purpose. Jordan Peterson has his. Andrew Tate, Joe Rogan. Everybody has their purpose. And those are the people that have really got into connected with their purpose. And they have the fulfillment in life to prove it. They've got the bank accounts to follow with it. Their satisfaction in what they do. They wake up on a daily basis. And you can hear it. They'll tell you this. They wake up feeling fulfilled. You can have that. You don't need to reach those levels. You do not need to be popular. You do not need to be famous. I am not an alpha male, and I'm bringing this up for a reason. Alpha males love to stand out. They love the attention. They love to be the person, the leader. I'm what's referred to, and they also say if you say it, you're not. It's not true. I'm doing it for an illustration purpose. I'm not a beta. I'm not a delta. I'm not an omega. None of the other categories of the hierarchy of men. I'm what's referred to as a sigma. Don't want to be out in the front of the limelight. I have to be, because if I don't, this place burns. This world burns if I don't do something about it. So that's what gets me excited, is that I can make a change. And it may not be in my lifetime. That's fine. I'm dedicated to this. I learned something from my great aunt. It's and you know who she is if you are familiar with the poem "How I Love Thee, Let Me Count the Ways." It's Elizabeth Barrett Browning. It's on my mother's side, distant relative. Her and her husband had next to no fame in their lifetime. They were both poets. We now have a legacy for somebody who just expressed love and how much she loved her partner. I'm okay if that's my outcome. Is just do everything that I can to make a difference. So, I know I get excited and kind of emotional over this one, but this is what's true for me. And my heart and my passion is this. So if you don't feel like you have purpose, yeah, send me an email. I'll help. I'll do something to help. Nothing else, give you some place to find it. Get you out of your own way, because that's another thing. It's a fuck. It is a fact. It's an absolute fact. The only person between you and success is you. It is a fact. And if you don't see that as 100% fact, you need to send me an email. You need to get in touch with me, because I promise I will wake you up. I guarantee you I will wake you up into something, and you can do something from there. Okay? All right. That's spirituality and maturity. That's the 7 areas of maturity. What causes somebody to fucking crawl on a rooftop to go over to try to kill somebody that is just trying to do something to make the country better? I don't care where you stand on that. I'm independent. I don't care. I'm not brainwashed by the media. The man's doing what he can to try to make this place better. He is on the outside of everybody else who has these beliefs in the establishment, if you will. I'm aware of the establishment. I'm not a fucking theorist or a conspiracy theorist or anything. The establishment is a real thing. If you don't think it's a real thing, you need to send me an email, because I promise you, you just work on yourself and you'll see it. It is as obvious as can be, but if you don't take care of yourself and you're working on yourself, you're distracted and you will not see what the fuck is going on right in front of you. They can directly lie to you. They have one segment on the news and tells you this, and then immediately their person does that, and you're like, oh, it's okay when they do it. But the other one, that's the Antichrist. A simple example is the whole classified documents thing. If you don't know enough about what's actually there and what's going on with it, Biden has been accused of, not accused, he actually openly said that he had those documents in his Corvette, or in the garage with his Corvette. There's a lock and key. Well, Trump had it buried in a vault in his place with Secret Service and on-site security on top of that and all kinds of things secured. And yet we lose our fucking mind whenever we see these documents spread out on the floor of the FBI released. But yet this guy has it in his garage that could easily be opened and accessed by fucking anybody that has access to the house, and even people that break in get access to it. You're not going to do the same. It wasn't the same, and most people are just sitting there going, oh, okay, well, this or that. Oh, well, it's okay. You were directly lied to right to your face, but because you're so distracted by the other things in your life that you're not happy with, you're just sitting there numb to it all and go, okay, well, that makes sense. I'm good with it. Or, okay, emotional inflection from the person that's talking on the television. They must be right, because I don't even have enough self-awareness right now to qualify that I'm being manipulated. If you want to break past all that shit, again, independent. I'm not a Republican or a fucking Democrat. I'm none of those things. I'm just independent because I didn't like them. I didn't like the parties. They don't stand for what I stand for. I stand for this. So if you want to break free of that nonsense, you've got to realize that what's going on right now, you need to become self-aware of yourself, and you need to work on yourself, because if not, they're going to continue to puppeteer you. People do this. This is what works, and I don't want it. I want what works is by us being completely autonomous in our lives, to be able to have something that makes a fucking difference for you, so that you can sit there and be like, you know what? I just don't want to contribute to that. Versus, I don't know, I saw something. I guess I got to go vote because I was told which direction I need to vote in because it's important, but I don't have enough time to qualify what's really important because I'm stuck dealing with my financial issues. Because you're not working on developing a maturity in that world, you're just trying to survive. You got to go past that if you want different. That's it. So yeah, I get excited and impassioned when it comes to politics, but mine is because of the long-term outcomes. It's also about everything else in life. Politics is not my whole life at all. I don't want that to be my life overall, but I'm not naive and I'm not dumb to it. I refuse to avoid the subject. I'm not going to avoid it. I'm going to be informed enough, but I also have to look for the informants. Who's the ones that are telling me how to feel? Because if I hear you telling me how to feel, immediately I go, I'm good. I got this. I don't need you to tell me how to feel. And if you're trying to tell me how to feel, you're not my friend. You are trying to manipulate me. And I do not hold manipulative people close to me. It just doesn't work. Because I work on myself, I can recognize it. I want that for you too. That's what the Maturity Project's about. You got to work on yourself. Because if not, you're going to be blinded by the things that you're told to be blinded by. And you're going to continue to live this cycle. It's up to you how you want to do it. I do not care what lifetime you want to have. I don't care what you want to do in your life. I do care about whether or not you're fulfilled in those efforts. And that's what this is about. My target is the people that want fulfillment in life. When you're on your deathbed, you're not going to sit there and be like, hey, at least I got to finish the entire series of Friends or whatever damn show is your thing. Because I can tell you right now, that is not going to be one of your thoughts on your deathbed. On your deathbed, you're going to think about the things that you didn't do and what you did do. And it's not going to be about your television show. It's going to be about your life. And if you're spending most of your life right now going, I don't know what to binge watch next, I'm like, get a fucking library card. You want to binge something, binge in growth. Go binge in learning something. Versus, I don't want to think, I just want to turn it all off. Look, I'm not downing if that's where you're at. Just wake up. Because if you don't, you're going to be the person that regrets life. There are going to be things about your life that you regret. And by the way, regret robs you of fulfillment. What it does do, though, is it tells you you didn't do something right, do it better. Do it right. That's what regret is. And if you don't know how to recognize that and work with it, you're going to have the outcome that you have. What do you want in your life? That's what this is all about. Fulfillment is not what I want for you in your life, other than the fact I just want you to be able to create the life you want. Anyway, that's it for today's episode. I got to stop because I'm just fired up about everything that's going on. And just know this is that I care. I really do. But I also care enough not to enable you or to disable you. I want you to be powerful, potent. I cannot access that without you wanting to be a part of it. If you want to be a part of it, subscribe to this channel. Okay? If you want to be a part of this, send me an email. I will send you those documents. They're simple. It's nothing crazy, but it gives you a position first thing in the morning. Read through it and see where you want to attribute your success. What do you have that you know and what do you not know? And start looking on how to spread it out to a broader area so that you can start addressing the things that are leading and taking you for advantage. Things that are just doing stuff to you you're not able to really recognize it's even happening. So that's the people. Like, if you want that, send me an email. I will get that document to you and you'll be able to start somewhere. And if nothing else, it gives you a place to see an opportunity. Watch the videos grow. Watch me and my efforts. By all means, you can get that by subscribing. Like this video to help with that as well, just to help move it in the algorithm. I know I have a lot of work that I need to do. I absolutely do. In my presentation and my marketing, everything about what the Maturity Project is, but you're going to be watching that if you subscribe. You will see the growth. You'll be a part of the outcome. The success of this, you absolutely can be a part of it. Just simply by working on it yourself. If you want something different, you gotta do different. Nothing's gonna change that doesn't change. You gotta put the effort in. And I want to give those insights to at least be able to see where you could do it. All right. So share this video with a person in your life that you want to make a difference with to start a conversation of meaning. Share this video with them. Comment in the comment section, anything you get out. If nothing else, just good job, Chad. I loved it. Or whatever you take out. I don't care. Just give something. Put it out there. The more you comment in this thing, the more real it becomes. Write stuff down. The more you write it down, the more real it becomes. If you keep it in your head, you'll eventually forget it because something else is going to come along. Turn on the news and you're fucked. You're lost somewhere else. You've just got somebody else's opinion telling you what to think. Write it down will make it actually real. You can start that as a process and a practice. The document I said, you can start writing down as much as you like on it and around it, and you can build into a reality of your own projections for strategizing your future success because you're addressing the things that you need to address. Think of every single professional you've ever found in life and then find out from your knowledge and your experience of those people, how satisfied are they? And if all they ever seem to do is talk about their area of expertise, they're probably not very satisfied. They're just satisfied there. Other areas, they don't even want to get there because it's just too painful or they just feel inept. Don't be that person. Be well-rounded. And if you do know that person, share this video with them. Get it to them. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how successful you are in one area. Once you start hearing this, you'll see that you have work to do elsewhere. It's the Maturity Project. 8 areas of maturity. Physical, community, emotion, cognitive, intelligence, finance, business, sexuality, spirituality. All those areas are important to us. And you absolutely can develop and grow in each one. Okay? Now, it doesn't matter that you think you can't. Yes, you can. Absolutely can. We just have to figure out what to do. How to get there. Other people have done it. I guarantee you, absolutely other people have done it. You know of other people that have done what you want to do. You can do it too. You're the only one in your way. That's it. All right. The path to hell is paved with good intentions. That's why there's a path to hell, because a lot of people are good. They want good. And they're trying to do good. But it still paves the path to hell because they're not mature enough to understand the long-term consequences of their actions. You want to upset that and change it? Work with me. Join in this today. You will change it. Opportunities lie once you have this understanding and awareness. More opportunities. You can be powerful. And you already are, I'm sure, to whatever direction. But you can really be fulfilled and powerful. All right, till next time. Again, I'm your host, Chad Everett Broshears, or Sir Chad Everett Broshears to some. If you know, you know. Still feel kind of, that's not necessarily well placed for this video, but oh well. This is the Maturity Project. Let's get to it, okay? Let's go make a difference. See ya. Yeah, join with me. We'll see ya. It's a slow connection. I'm waiting for that to disappear.